One more thing that I want to quickly mention is forking. You may have seen this already in the Git interface. You can hit fork here, and then it's going to make a complete copy of the repository. Now, why would you want to fork? Well, you probably don't want to fork your own repo because you already have full access to all of the code here, but you don't for other people's repos. So let me find just a random repo on GitHub. Okay, so here's Vue.js. So let me click on this. And I actually don't have access to change anything in this repo. So if I want to make a PR against this repo and request for my changes to be added, or if I just want to be able to branch off of the code in this repo and do whatever I want with it, then I want to fork it. So I'm going to hit the fork button here and fork it to my user account. These are just groups that I'm a part of on GitHub. Sometimes it takes a minute to fork over all the code, especially with Vue.js because it's a large repository. All right, and now you can see the repo is no longer under the Vue.js organization. Now it's under my personal GitHub. And now that I've forked this, I have complete control to make any updates or changes that I want to this code. So if I want to come into README and hit the pencil, update this, I can say, hi there. And now I can come to the bottom and commit changes again. So I can say updated README or whatever I want. I'm just going to leave it with the default text again. Commit to the dev branch. So before we worked off the master branch as being the default branch, but sometimes when you're working in a larger project with other people, you are going to want to create multiple branches like master, staging, and dev for different kinds of environments. So in this case, dev is set to the default branch for this repository instead of master. So I'm just going to commit my changes directly to dev. And you can see my changes here. Of course, they aren't part of the main Vue.js Vue repository, but they're part of the one that I forked because I forked a complete copy of that repository, including the branches associated with it. And you can see dev is marked as the default. So now what if I wanted to get my changes back into this Vue.js repository? Of course I don't, but what if I did? I would go and create a pull request. So new pull request, and then as my base, the place that I want to merge my changes into, I would put the repository that I forked from, this Vue.js repository, and the branch. And I want to compare that with my repository that I forked and the branch on my repository that I updated. Of course, I'm not going to click create pull request because this is just a demo. I can also see the diff down here of the changes that I've made and what commits I've made to this branch on my fork. Now, if I want to merge within my fork, I can do that easily. Let's say, of course, there isn't anything to compare because I'm comparing the same branch here. But I could merge into any other branch. Let me find master here. So I could merge straight into master, and you can see I can create pull requests now. I created a pull request, and I'm gonna create pull request. And you can see they had a bunch of default text added to the pull request information, but I'm just going to go ahead and merge. Go back to the code. If I scroll down, of course I'm on dev, it says hi there. And now if I go to master, it also has my changes on master because I merged them. Generally speaking, after we merge a branch into one of our default branches like master, then we would clean up the branch that has just been merged. In other words, we would delete it from GitHub and from our local machine because we're not using that branch anymore. But it's a little bit different when we use branches like dev, staging, and master, because generally you're merging your feature branches into either dev or master, and you have dev and master and sometimes staging reserved for just merging into, so you don't make any changes on dev and master themselves. You'll just be merging other branches into dev or master depending on how your codebase is set up. In a large project like Vue.js, we would merge all of our feature branches or bug fixes or whatever into the dev branch, and then delete the branch that we just merged in. And then when all the changes on the dev branch are ready, those get merged into master, but dev never gets deleted, just like master never gets deleted. Those kind of stay around forever. All the other branches are just temporary. So me having my own fork allows me full reign, full access, full control of CRUD operations, create, read, update, delete, whatever I want to do with all of this code, all of these files. And if I want to make some major updates, what I'm going to do is fork the repository, which I already did, pull my fork down to my local machine, make all the updates that I want to, test them out, whatever I want to do. I'll push them back up to my fork, and then I will create a PR against the original repository.